Hey, muy buenas tardes, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. And do please allow me to start off by thanking everyone for your guys' words, prayers, and for your great support. De corazón, muchísimas gracias. Now, to get into the story on hand, today I want to touch on a Pili or ex Pili, Chino from Geraghty Lomas, and basically expand my message on all the lies and misguidance that a lot of times, older camaradas, they hit the streets with their chest pumped up, not at any time touching their heart for the new generation, for what they're supposed to have, not just carnalismo, heart, but legit love, right? Which is since kids is what you're out there representing. It's why you get busted, which is your own neighborhood, the homies from your neighborhood. And but anyways, well, the first time I heard about Chino from Geraghty Lomas was from my first Ellie, Raul from Riverside. And how his name came up was basically he was giving me clecha in any way, shape, or form, talking negative about his hermanos. It was more in of advice, on if I ever hit a yard that belonged to certain pilis, to stay clear in the form of, yeah, get there, pay my respects, show my presence there, my support, but other than that, you know, stay clear from getting any type of responsibility under that Billy. Because they were on a track of hitting a brick wall. He also told me that basically he was jumping charcos. What I mean by that is, for a lot of years, there's been a lot of Billys that don't really come out on float. We hear just about the big ones, the ones that at one time or another were involved in the RICO Act, and they made videos about them recording or XX thing. But there is those that damage the organization that are not really recognized. For example, one was Apache from Geraghty Lomas. Now Chino, for a lot of years, he had the responsibility to deal with it, to say the least. But it's the way CDC works, and they put him in Corcoran, and that it's not an SNY yard. It's beyond that. It has more protection. It's where Saram was there, and Charles Manson, and a lot of ABEs were there. Is those high power, high power pesetas. But so there was no way you could touch him, right? But the other thing, he was enrolled in a big old power struggle, with which was common at this time. There was open wars with Terco and Boxer, and Weather Sherm had open wars, and I guess at first Chino from Geraghty, he was backing up the Grajeda's car, and after long feuding with the Tio Pio Boxer faction, Black Dawn and them, they ended up losing, or as you guys know, they ended up clipping Guatemalano's wings due to the dirty politics they were playing with. And from there, Chino jumped the boat towards the ones he was politicking against, right? It is why I really touch on emphasis on how dirty it is, well, at my times, when I was out there, how there was camaradas literally picking up pedazos and going to town on righteous other camaradas, campoleros, over these individuals. And as I stated before in my recordings, they're sitting in the back playing chess, laughing it up, sharing a spread. You got some chanate, some huariche, sharing it, like nothing's happening. While camaradas are literally taking each other's wing. And as always, not ever thinking that the minute they clip their alas, all them loyal soldados underneath them are gonna get got too. And for what? Just for simply following what the rules and regulation as la causa campolera is set up to be, right? Which is, respect these individuals, loyalty to the fullest. But my question is, where's the loyalty from there towards them, towards camaradas? And to a subscriber that once said, it sounds like I'm trying to uprise against them, and no, I'm not, man. I'm simply stating facts, As you guys know, I'm from up north. We don't grow up with that, with all that neighborhood against neighborhood of homies, We don't grow up with them. Well, at least I didn't grow up with those politics, It was sureños, period. Yes, we were from a different neighborhood, but at the end of the day, we had one flag we were representing. So I was brought up like that. But anyways, I disculpen, getting back. Chino had jumped with Tio Pio and them, and they started going to war now against the Avenues car. Which, at this time I started already, I was already in Ironwood when this was happening, and as you guys know, it was Terco, which I was helping, was feuding with Boxer, because Boxer, like I stated before, I think he was at that stage where, he's a smart individual. He already knew what he was going to do, so he was trying to get as much possible without caring who was going to politic against him, right? Never thinking that, Tio Pio was going to get sick, and long before he hit Corcoran, word started spraying around that he was no longer, whoever was on the yards representing El Tio Pio, they were to get removed. So they didn't say it to that in exact words, but nevertheless, you knew what it meant, He was no longer in good standings. So I think Boxer seen the writing on the wall, and all that hanging on Tio Pio's thing between the legs went out the window. So he knew it was done. And not to say the least, the Aguirre's, that was the Avenues car, was strong, For one, they had two strong politicians in the Ranfla, And I say this because everywhere I went, Tigre had soldados. Soldados willing to go to war with whoever under his orders. He had a lot of loyalty. He was a tyrant, like you guys don't even imagine, but nevertheless, he had a lot of homies underneath him. And Ironwood alone, man, there's a lot of homies from Avenues that were in one way or another touched with Tigre or Psycho, and at the end of the day, they were all neighborhoods, so they would support each other, right? Up until the point Tigres decided to backstab Pee Wee and Psycho, and well, you guys know how it goes, It's easier to go against your own, especially if they're from your neighborhood, cuz They don't only want that recognition in prison, but they also want it in the neighborhood, on the streets, that son los más chingones, right? But getting back to Chino, he started warring with them, and you were literally here, homies from Little Valley that were underneath Chino, and remember Big Chato. Well, he eventually got booked up in High Desert, and there was a few camaradas from Maravilla too that were underneath Chino, and but what I want to touch on the most is how this individual was, just so you guys get a good picture on how I mentioned, that once they reach that pedestal, not just camaradas are out the window, but they're homies. Period. So for all those youngsters on the street that someone gets out and glorifies a life in prison, don't be fooled, man. Stay loyal, like I said, to those that have shown you true love, those ones you grew up with, and the ones you could never go wrong, which is your family. For example, Chino started politicking against Tony, that old man from Geraghty Lomas, his own homeboy. But he seen a pipeline to get more power, more feria. Greed comes into play. So he started trying to press that line that Tony wasn't kicking back right? And which, for those that know about the old man Tony from Geraghty, that guy in Hawaii, they were making bank, man. They had avenues where there was a lot of money. There was a lot of territory to cover and not too much heads out there. So that was one. Like I stated, he started warring with the Aguirres, and he also started warring with Droopy from Tailtown. Now, for those that were up in Pelican Bay, you guys know that was some strong words, to go against the SD card at this time. They had a lot of power up there. Never to, not to say the least, it's Droopy from Shelltown. What assurance there, He stayed afloat with all that car tripping stuff, but nevertheless, he was gonna be there. So as that time went by, as you guys know, Boxer cowered out and he got what he got and he checked in. And as soon as Boxer checked in, there was nobody no more there for Chino and Stomp. So the first one that circled around saying he was no longer a camarada was Stomp. And right behind him, it was Chino. But just to touch more on how they hurt, their own neighborhood, and the process of being power hungry, chasing that, you could say bolsita, period, right? Money, dope, whatever. They hurt their own neighborhood, which is common, an addict, the first people they hurt is always family, right? So I'm assuming it kind of goes hand in hand. But anyways, at this time, when Chino checked in, he had a homie from his neighborhood, stranger. And, stranger, he was just a camarada, but nevertheless, he was playing dirty politics. I'm assuming because he seen the writing on the wall, and as you guys know, if you're directly on the just one pili, the minute that pili goes, you're gonna go. So I'm assuming the camarada, he was back there dándole vueltas a la cabeza, knowing that it was just seeing, all Chino allies going down. It was just a matter of time of homeboy going down. Now, I can't say what their palabras inside the cell were like because, I wasn't there. Nevertheless, he started siding or, in the shadows, started politicking, you could say, with the avenues and the San Diego car. More so, with Droopy. So when time came, that Chino decided to check in, it was just one of those, oh, I'm going out here, and he just never came back. And everybody knew what time it was. The whole little ramfla that they were in had already crashed mostly. The only ones that stayed behind were those that brincaron charco to a different ramfla, right? So when this happened, of course, they were homies. Even though one was a pili, the other one was camarada. They're still homies at the end of the day. So the camarada had a lot of personal info about Chino. So he directed those other individuals to where Chino's top supporters was his wife or ex-wife, something like that. So she'd be taken out, which was done to the dot, right? And I'm not sure, and even if I was, I'm not gonna say it came down from a certain Pili. Just it came down the pipe to have it get done. Now, within time, please keep focus on how this is homies from the same neighborhood getting in the mix of prison politics and how all that you grew up fighting for is gone, right? Now, within time, stranger parole. He got out to the streets and, you know, and there was a couple more camaradas back there from Geraghty Lomas. One was Jojo. Jojo was real tough underneath. Psycho, boxer, and at this time, they had already clipped Tigre. So all the Tigres soldados or the ones that they could be trusted brincaron pa con Psycho. So Jojo was gonna parole. At this time, I was already up in Pelican Bay, So he paroled and he had some clear orders, was where you know stranger can't be trusted. Homeboy went out his way to betray his homeboy, gave up personal information. It don't matter if his homeboy, decided to check in, as homeboys when they were in the cell. You should have told him like, hey, show me respect, no me mixes en esto, por favor. Show me some homie love, right? Some neighborhood love. Of course, it was gonna be shine, cause once they're in me, all that is blah blah, right? But anyways, he couldn't be trusted because he felt straight to the point. He just couldn't be trusted because he was a snake betraying his own homeboy. That was a word that circled around, right? So yeah, Jojo ended up getting out and he ended up taking out Stranger in his own neighborhood. So it had to be after 2009 he actually came back to Pelican Bay and basically do what at this time was asked of us. Just sit there and just sit, just sit and program. right? Because I'm pretty sure Psycho didn't even give him a gracias. He was Psycho's, not gonna say right hand man, but he was actually taking care of a couple things for him. Now, throughout this whole time, this is how politics work, right? Psycho was feuding with Weddle Sherm sobre Coachella in that area, and at the same time, they're over here in the shoe supporting each other to clear house on what Chino had left behind. It's how hypocrite they they finesse things to their liking. You know, keep in mind, politicking amongst them is prohibited, right? But I happen to be in a section with a good camarada that had been back there for a long time. Smiley from Geraghty Lomas, and over this, he had decided not to program no more. He was validated, and he was going to be back there for as long as they were keeping you slam, right, for being validated. Which at this time there was no clear picture on when, because he wasn't going to debrief and go out like that, right? He was just not going to program with something that he felt hurt his neighborhood, and he just felt it wasn't right anymore, right? It is where I was being told all this, from him, how he was hurt, how, one, two, three, four, five homies from his neighborhood got hurt behind this. I mean, look at Jojo. He was already on the streets. Instead of getting out there and I already did what I had to do. I got to start being true to myself, to my family. He went and pulled a mission for these individuals, and he came back and sat back there, with L. And for what? Just for a little while longer to one of them feels he can't be trusted either because he took out one of his own homeboys. Because that's how it happens. First they tell you, I'm gonna I want to see where your loyalty's at. This is your own homeboy, go ahead. Then they turn around and tell you like, man, he can't be trusted. He went against his own homeboy without questioning it. So you're doomed if you do, and you're doomed if you're not. If you don't, excuse me. So I don't know how much longer Smiley stayed back there, but he had a really good film in mind. At this time, he was there for, I believe, 8 years, 8, 9 years back there, validated, and he had just a couple months after he decided to request not being on the gallo and not to be included in the program no more. But anyways, mi gente, I just thought I'd share this story. There's a lot of people, a lot of factors involved with this. I disculpen, this was being told to me from the homie Smiley, and again, I heard it from a person that was there, right? And I just thought I'd share it with you guys. It's how they all work, right? Not too long ago, I was still wigging and I was still doing what I thought was what a camponero should be doing. It came down the grapevine to D from Ontario that I guess Chino had parole, and they were aware where he was at, and they were just waiting to catch him slipping. I never heard after that, but it's just funny how when a pinto gets out, instead of doing the right thing in their neighborhood and telling them, someone sent me an email not too long ago and told me, I never got involved with it because my older camaradas, when they got out, they told me it was all BS inside to stay away from it. And I'm not gonna put them on blast, cause but that's how camaradas should be, Get out and really take care of those that you should take care of, right? Not get out there and say, oh, you gotta go in and earn your stripes, and fill the young ones with that illusion that there's loyalty, honor, and serving these individuals. When all they're gonna get is get used and abused and thrown aside. Nowadays with it's not enough to do it to camaradas, They overstep the camarada now to do it to families, go after familias, and basically they don't want to just have that power over camaradas to where, I disculpen, I say it as so, but punk camaradas. But they also want to grab them by the, you know what, and they want you to include your familia so that, oh, he ain't going to go nowhere. He knows we're targeting families now. And we know where his family, everything. But with this said, it's just to hopefully spark a little bit of a glimpse to the inside, and have someone get deterred from going in, wasting their life, going through heartaches, going through a bunch of wasted time for a bunch of tecatos that ain't never gonna even give you thanks. At the end of the day, you know what? The honor they're telling you that's in there is you being on the yard, getting dope for a tecato, money for a tecato, putting your family in risk for a tecato. They're the only ones that are going to be visiting you. Or picking up a ferro against something against your own, something you're representing over at Tecato's Feria. Think about it. Be smart. Stay true to yourself. Loyal to your family. Again, muchísimas gracias to everyone. Please like and share. I send my love as always. Muchos saludos, que estén bien.